Today's video is all about cleaning. That's right, cleaning. We're gonna have to bring in the bigger guns. One of the biggest things that has changed living in a tiny house, I feel like, is things get dirty really quick. If you don't like cleaning, that might be a big indicator that tiny house living is not for you. It's essentially a one-room house, so it's the kitchen, it's the living room, it's the bedroom, it's everything else rolled into one. So when messes happen with each of those things, it all gets piled on together. So the house gets dirty daily. Now in a normal size house, I feel like, you know, there'll be little messes here and there, and then like you pick a day each week and that's like cleaning day. Like, you know, every Sunday you go and clean, because these little messes are kind of spread out throughout the house, so you're not faced in front of them all the time. It's not like that in a tiny house. In a tiny house, if there's a mess, you're looking directly at it pretty much all day. So with tiny house living, you have to clean up after yourself pretty much after everything. You want to try and get into a habit of cleaning up right when you're done with everything. So, are you done? So, are you done sneezing? So I just thought that this would be something to talk about because it's kind of a big thing. You have to clean up after yourself pretty much every day. As opposed to, like I said, if you have a normal house, I feel like you can get away with cleaning about once a week and you just do a full day of cleaning. With a tiny house, you pretty much have to pick up after yourself every day. And, you know, do a quick vacuum every day and do a quick, you know, just stuff like that. So if you don't like cleaning, maybe tiny house living isn't for you. But that being said, there's a few different things that I've come across that really help out with cleaning up and making it easier and I figured I'd let you guys know what those things are. Number one, you really should get yourself a good vacuum. You saw there was a giant backpack vacuum that I had on. If that's great, if you one are okay with dropping about $250 for a vacuum, two, have a place to store it. If you have the room for it, I think it's a great vacuum, and it can get things cleaned really quick, and it's really powerful, and yeah, so it's a good vacuum. But that being said, a lot of people aren't going to want to do that. It's either going to take up too much space, it's going to be too much money, and that's understandable. Another great thing to get is something like this. This is just a Black & Decker handheld vacuum, and it's rechargeable, and that works out great. You can get away with just that. It is going to take a little bit longer. It's specifically cleaning the floors, you know, vacuuming up the floors and stuff, but you can get away with that, and you can mount it on the wall and it'll take up barely any space. That is definitely a necessity, is some sort of vacuum. Whether it be the couch, the floors, just the crumbs on the table, you're going to want to vacuum. It's just so much easier than trying to get a broom and just get that all together. So a vacuum is great. Another thing is a dish rack or a drying rack for the dishes. If you have a tiny house, you most likely have a small sink or small counter. Having like a dish drying rack section. Let me show you what I got. We got one of these guys. Kind of folds out. We're able to do the dishes and put them right here, and they dry right away, and we're able to do the dishes is a big thing, because before we would just pile on the dishes into the sink and there wouldn't be a real good place to put them after they're done drying and stuff. You need a drying rack. You need a drying rack. You'll be able to do the dishes a lot better. What else? Another tip I have is just having a place for something. Everything should kind of have its own place. Like my PlayStation goes a certain place, along with the controllers and headsets and whatever else I might have. Everyone's laptop should have a place that they go. Just everything should have its own place. And if it doesn't have a place, then you should really consider whether or not it should be in the tiny house at all. One side of the cleaning part is deciding whether that stuff should even be in the house at all. When you live in a tiny house, you really need to pick and choose what to fill the space with, because there's not a lot of space. So you have to decide what's important to you and what really gives you value. I guess it's very minimalist living in a tiny house. So you have to decide what takes up most of your time. What do you use things for, and how often? Basically, cleaning is going to be a part of your everyday routine. If you're going to live in a tiny house, be prepared for that. I just wanted to show that in this video, because I don't think a lot of other people are going to focus on that. So that's something to think about.